So I spent some time looking up some of those reels and videos and Instagram posts from women like me who have either just hit 50 or are a little bit older than that. And the theme that kept coming up was not caring. Like, I don't care anymore. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't care about anymore that I used to, you know? And that's good. That's freedom. That is a wonderful freedom, and I think that's what we're celebrating. I think the problem is I'm 50, well, I'm 51, and I do care. I care more than I'd like to admit. And maybe that's kind of the crux of the matter. Maybe we care more than we'd like to admit. And it's easier to just throw up our hands and say, I'm done. I don't care. Leave me alone. But I do care. So, hi, welcome back to Stories for Humans. I'm Pam, and today I wanted to talk about something maybe a little bit different. There's so many videos out there right now for people like me, made by people like me, that really resonate with women over 50. There's TikTok videos, Instagram reels, and it's all about, hey, I'm 50 or in my 50s and I just don't give a crap about anything anymore. And there's this kind of like, it's time to take my power back. It's time to live from me. It's time to stop taking care of everyone else and look after myself. And I have really resonated with those videos, with this idea that, you know what? I'm done. I am so done with everyone demanding of me, of putting myself last, of putting my dreams and things on the back burner, and trying so hard to please everyone, make everyone happy. Totally relate to those. And I've watched so many, reels and commented and liked. And there's something about it, though, that bothered me a little bit. And it was brought home again this morning. So this morning, my husband is leaving the house at about 6:45 a.m. and I'm finishing up his breakfast wrap that I like to make him whenever I have the energy, which is most of the time, honestly. And I'm handing it to him, and he's tying up his boots, and he starts talking about the young guy that is in charge of setting up a job. So he's putting calcium. They're putting calcium on the roads to keep the dust down. This is a job that comes up every summer, and my husband Dylan is really good at it. He has done this a lot of times in different places, and so they kind of just leave it to him to organize the greater part of it in the water truck and all that. But the young guy, he was probably in his, maybe early 30s, he said, he was super stressed and just was, going on about how he's really nervous and, he's barely done this before and he's not sure what he's doing. And so we had a 1 minute chat about what it's like to be in your 50s and know how to do a job well and be able to help, be able to encourage, be able to stand with a young guy who's just trying his best. And instead of making it more difficult for him or criticizing him, but instead to encourage and help and just, take the edge off that stress by saying, hey, it's okay. I've been here before. I'm an older guy. I know what I'm doing. And it made me think about something that I've thought about a lot lately, and that is there are way too many young people who, yeah, a lot of times they think they know it all. I've seen that a lot. But there's way too many young people looking for someone to help them, to mentor them, to maybe lead the way, to give them some advice. And there's way too many people in my generation, Gen X, who are just retreating from everything, who are just done. And I get that because what we're dealing with a lot in my generation is, and if you're older and you're watching this, please don't think I'm talking about you, don't be offended, but in general, a lot of the older generation, like my parents generation, they're not really interested in making the way for the next generation. They're not terribly interested in passing the torch, in encouraging or training younger people to take over for them. In fact, there's a lot of the opposite happening, and even in my own family, like the patriarchs or matriarchs of the businesses, of the church boards, all of those things, they're not really wanting to pass it on. They're actually making it difficult for younger people to take the reins. They're criticizing them, they're putting up barriers, they're just making it difficult instead of saying, hey, now it's your turn and I'm going to help you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to pass you the reins and I'm going to encourage you along the way. Instead of that, most of the time, what I've seen is pretty well the exact opposite. And so that little conversation this morning with Dylan as he's heading out the door, and my own thoughts lately, looking around at the world, the society I'm living in, and seeing this real disconnect, it made me think, you know what? No, I don't want to be a 50 plus woman who just wants to live for myself now or is just done with everything. It doesn't mean I have to put myself back out there to be walked on, but it does mean that there are so many people looking for a friend, looking for someone to give them some advice, maybe some help with parenting. And I know what you're going to say because I've seen this before too. A lot of younger people don't want to take that advice, or it's offered in such a spirit that they reject it right away. In general, I guess what I want to do is a look at being 50 plus as an opportunity, not a closed door that I'm going to hide behind, but a room where I can invite others into. And I think it's time for those of us in my generation to actually reach down a hand, and if you're doing that, that's so awesome. I applaud you. If you are just literally burnt out and you absolutely need a break, a rest, time to take care of yourself, I totally understand that too. But I just want to move a bit away from this mindset of I'm 50 and I don't give a crap anymore. I think it should be I'm 50 and I really do give a crap about what's going on in the world, about the younger generations, about ways that we can help, ways that we can maybe um, take a leadership role, take a mentorship role, and even just small bits of encouragement instead of criticism. What I've heard a lot from the older generations is you guys aren't doing it right. Um, you're not saving your money in the right way. You're not working hard enough at this. We used to do things way better in the old days, before all this technology. It's really discouraging. Kind of have this like battle or this pushback coming from both sides, right? When you're in your 50s, you have older people not really impressed maybe with what you're doing, thinking you should be doing a bit more. And then you have the younger generations kind of resisting being put in a box of like, no, I don't really want to live my life exactly the way you did, mom or dad. I don't really want to live my life just working, 6, 7 days a week, trying to pay off a house because I've seen what that does to you. And I actually want to live my life, enjoy some of my life while I'm young. So, I don't know. What do you think? Have you heard a lot of that talk about it's kind of like the grown woman midlife crisis, I guess. I'm 50. and nothing can bother me anymore. I'm 50 and I just don't care anymore. I'm 50 and I've given it my all for so long and now I'm done. And I think maybe instead we should think, you know what? I'm 50. I have a lot of life experience. I've been through a lot of things. I know who I am. I'm settled in where I live and my relationships, hopefully. And I have some time. I have some encouragement to give to those around me and have a little bit more of a generous spirit because I know I resonated with all of that talk about being 50 and being done because I was 50 and I was done with a lot of things. I found that that sort of negative vibe, that negative way of thinking about everything, started to make me feel kind of isolated, kind of miserable. Like, let's all be part of the miserable club. And I think I'm going to choose a different way of looking at things. I want to be part of a club that's motivating, inspiring, reaching out. Maybe you don't have that much left to give. Maybe you do need a break. I know I've needed a break, but there's still a lot of time left, and we still have a lot of life left to give. So, what generation are you in? How do you look at it? What's your perspective? I know we all have different perspectives because we have different families, we've grown up in different ways, and we've had different challenges. And some of us have hit 50 just completely done physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, just kind of sick of everything. And maybe we need a little time to regroup, to be re inspired, but it doesn't mean we have to totally give up and shut the door, turn the key, and not talk to anybody ever again. Yeah, I kind of feel like that is a little bit selfish when there's so many needs out there. When just a word to a young mom who's trying to, get her kids into church in the morning, or someone in the grocery store lineup that's trying to bag their groceries and open their purse and keep their toddler from falling out. Instead of looking at that with, oh, I'm so glad I'm done with that. Oh, I'm so glad that that's not my life anymore. And I'm so glad that I get to just do what I want to do now. Maybe we could be a little bit more generous, a little bit more kind, and see people for where they're at and give them a bit of a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a, I've been there. And I hope that for myself, I can admit that yes, in some ways, I'm 50 and I'm done. But in a lot of ways, I'm 50 and there are so many open doors and so many opportunities and so much life left. And I don't want to, roll my eyes at everything. I don't want to settle into a cynical attitude. I actually want to speak joy, speak life, be an encourager. And even if they don't take it very well, so what? I didn't take it very well either when I was in my 20s and 30s sometimes. Yes, maybe we're done with a lot of the nonsense. Maybe we're done with caring so much about what people think of us. We're done with saying yes to everything. Maybe we've learned some boundaries. That's really good. But it doesn't mean we don't have to care. And I know that these ladies aren't really saying that. They're just celebrating. They're celebrating the freedom of being over 50 and being able to let some things go. So, what do you think? Are you 50 and done, or 60, or 70, maybe 80? Are you a young person that, yeah, could use a little guidance in this crazy world. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, thanks for coming along for another episode of Stories for Humans. I'll talk to you again really soon. Bye.